You may have to consider a change of job in the event of the old heave-ho. Oh yeah, I've already started retraining as equality controller for Agent Provocateur. Michael's already had a complete makeover from Thatcherite troll to media lovey. And we do love him. And Diane, well, you all know she's a bit of a globetrotter, so she clearly has a future as a trolley dolly. But we'll be all right. Even those poor bankers who've lost their jobs through no fault of their own, you understand. They're going back to school to learn new skills, like counting, which clearly they never mastered first time round. Here's the Daily Mail's Quentin Letts taking a scholarly look back at an interesting old week in Westminster High.
Wake up, boy! Funny old world, isn't it? Yesterday a banker, today a schoolmaster. All part of the government's wheeze to recruit city workers as school teachers, sometimes giving them as little as 6 months' training.
If you've got people with outstanding abilities who have got an enormous amount to give and have got a real yen for teaching, then actually I think we can put together intensive training that gets those people in front of our children, giving them the skills they need to go on and do well in life, much faster than we do today.
Now, let's see, 1 + 1 equals 20 trillion, of course. Let's hope they don't let these bankers anywhere near the maths syllabus. What a week it's been. The government got in deeper with Lloyds Bank. Then 1.6 billion was wiped off the value of Britain's main banks. Quantitative easing, whatever that might be. And then the car industry in terrible trouble, with the business secretary and the treasury fighting in the schoolyard. Girls, do stop it.
I wish that our discussions with the Treasury and the Bank of England, and it is the Bank of England which is in pole position on this, had gone quicker than they have. And I readily acknowledge that.
Today's children only know about Northern Ireland's troubles from the history books until this week. 2 soldiers and a policeman murdered by Irish Republican terrorist groups. The image of Martin McGuinness, a former provisional IRA commander, standing with Northern Ireland's chief constable and the Democratic Unionist leader Peter Robinson, showed more than anything how much Ulster's political setup has changed.
They are traitors to the island of Ireland. They have betrayed the political desires, hopes and aspirations of all of the people who live on this island, and they don't deserve to be supported by anyone.
Does the Prime Minister agree with me that
Schoolboy Knockabout was absent from Prime Minister's questions. Those Northern Ireland murders ensured that, as did David Cameron, returning to the dispatch box following the death of his son Ivan 2 weeks ago. The solemn atmosphere was grown up, resolute.
I do believe that out of tragedy we are seeing a unity which shows the determination that while a few murderers may try to disrupt the process, the whole of the people of Northern Ireland want not only to see justice done, but want to send a message that the political process is here to stay and is working.
Brown and Cameron were concerned about the treatment of British soldiers elsewhere after anti-war protesters, some from a banned Islamist group, shouted insults at a parade in Luton to honour soldiers returning from Iraq.
Today I join the Prime Minister in mourning the dreadful losses of the 3 British families, sappers Mark Quincy and Patrick Azimka and Constable Stephen Carroll. And on the day we remember the service of our soldiers, we should remind those who protest against them that they only have the right to do so because British soldiers put their lives on the line.
Time for some French now. Un frog equals un grenouille. Bon, garçon. Talking of which, France's President Sarkozy made an interesting announcement this week about NATO. France, having been one of the founder members of NATO, is now going to become more involved in its inner core. This is big pomme de terres. Why? Because if NATO has more European input, it'll become seen less as an American front. The Lib Dems leader Nick Clegg brought this up at Prime Minister's Questions. He's worried that Gordon Brown might not take full advantage of this significant announcement.
If he could commit Britain to working fully with France and others on European defence, which frankly we haven't done until now, then he would be in a stronger position to ask them to commit more money, more troops to Afghanistan. Does he recognise there's a good bargain to be had which would be of enormous help to our overstretched servicemen and servicewomen in many years ahead.
I've talked directly with President Sarkozy about what more we can do together in Afghanistan and other places. But I think we've got to remember also that we are talking about the British Army, the British Armed Forces, the British Navy and the British Air Force. And we are going to defend our right to make our own decisions as well.
Parliament had a pretty unusual visitor this week. Max Mosley, Formula One boss and serial orgy-goer at sadomasochistic parties for the past 45 years. MPs are considering tighter privacy laws, and Mr Mosley seems rather keen on the idea. MPs gave Mr Mosley a pretty easy ride. Why? Beats me.
Somebody takes away your dignity, if you like, for want of a better word. You never replace it. No matter how long I live, no matter what part of the world I go to, people know about that. Now, it's not that I'm ashamed of it. It's like I'm not ashamed of, for example, my bodily functions. But I don't want them on the front page of the newspaper.
What are you going to say for yourself, Letts? A privacy law might sound good in principle, but in practice, might it not be used by governments to hide state secrets? So what are the lessons from this week? Hard to say, really. There's been so much consensus, so little party politics. No doubt next week they'll be back to their normal classroom antics. And with Labour seemingly having bottomed out in the opinion polls, the Tories will be keen to inflict some pain. Max Mosley would be in his element.
Let's minor there, and our thanks to Westminster City High School. Max Mosley, an amazing performance there, wasn't it, Diane?
It's an amazing performance. I mean,